not in pleura. Even pleura is involved, chest pain is there. Pleuritic chest pain, so that is when with respiration chest pain occurs. So that way you may find these on clinical examination of the respiratory tract on of the lungs. You may find bronchi. So all these findings you have to correlate with your symptoms, and then you have to decide whether it's a bronchitis, bronchiectasis, lung abscess. Lung abscess, pleural effusion also, when you auscultate, you will find some finding. Maybe sounds are not there, respiratory sounds are not there. You may, percussion may be done on percussion. When fluid is there, you will find that dullness is there. So all these findings you have to correlate. And then what happens? Because you may reach on some conclusion that some effusion is there, pleural effusion is there. So now you have reached around that dullness is there, no sounds are there on clinical, and then breathlessness is there. So all these features are pleural effusion. Also depends upon whether you have cough with expiration, with also like bronchitis. Most of the times you will find dry cough may be there, but this is not that always it will dry cough. Sometimes it will maybe sputum also. So all these features like bronchiectasis also, when infection occurs, sputum also comes. So that way you have to assess it clinically with history correlation, and then you will go for some radiological findings. Radiological examination. Like radiological examination means X-ray chest will give you some idea. Fluid is there, pleural effusion. X-ray chest will show you something. If you want to localize the fluid, then CT scan may be of help. Can be which will find bronchovascular might be there. So these find you will on the microbiology, the infection, the cause of the infection. So it is the microbiological part. Otherwise, you are diagnosing radiologically, clinically, and symptoms. Okay. With this some introduction, we will start with each. I will start with each one of these entities like bronchitis, bronchiectasis, lung abscess, empyema, pleural effusion, and then I will list out some parasites which may cause lung infections, and we will deal with all those parasites. So, starting with first one, bronchitis. Bronchitis, this is the inflammation of bronchi, maybe due to variety of causes. The bronchitis may be acute bronchitis or chronic bronchitis. Acute bronchitis, most common cause is viruses are there, like respiratory syncytial virus, influenza virus, maybe coronavirus. Then bacterial causes may be Mycoplasma pneumoniae, maybe Chlamydophila pneumoniae. So these are the causes of acute bronchitis. But viruses are the most common. Then clinical features you will find in all conditions, almost same clinical features will be there. Fever may be there, cough with or without sputum may be there. In bronchitis, diagnosis, leukocytosis may be there. If infection is there, then leukocytosis may be there. Or TLC, total leukocytic count, you can do. And chest X-ray, you will find prominent bronchovascular markings are in bronchitis. And sputum culture, this is the microbiology part. You want to know if sputum is there. If sputum is there, then you can culture if sputum present. But it's not that always sputum will yield any organism on culture. So it may be that infection may not be there. So, and treatment is generally bronchitis are self-limiting disease and improves spontaneously within a week, or you can use short course of antibiotics. It may hasten the recovery. Short course of antibiotics like amoxicillin, azithromycin can be given. Then coming to chronic bronchitis, it is different from acute bronchitis. This is due to chronic inflammation of airways, leading to increased bronchial secretions and airways obstruction. This is basically mainly due to some irritant. Some irritant is there which causes the chronic bronchitis, like maybe smoking, maybe dust, maybe fumes, and infection may occur from upper respiratory tract infection in smokers, and maybe dampness, sudden change in temperature. All these may lead to chronic bronchitis. And chronic bronchitis is generally clinically expectoration. It's not dry cough, it's a productive cough. It differs from the bronchitis, which may be with dry cough. So cough with expectoration or productive cough are most days, at least 3 consecutive months in a year, for more than 2 consecutive years. In 2 consecutive years, you have a 3 months in a year, most of the days. So that is chronic bronchitis. But that type of definition only you can say for chronic bronchitis when you have ruled out other causes of productive cough, like bronchiectasis, a productive cough may be there, in lung abscess, and so many other causes you have to rule out. Then only you can say it's a chronic bronchitis. Then coming to clinical features, it's a cough is there, productive cough, breathlessness, wheezing, and blood in the sputum may be there, hemoptysis may be there. So these may be the features. Then complications of chronic bronchitis may be respiratory failure, type 1 or type 2. Then pulmonary arterial hypertension, secondary infection. All these will be taught to you in medicine also. And basically, it's a field of medicine. Then diagnosis. Diagnosis is sputum culture, because the sputum is there. So you have to, sputum culture depends upon whether infection is there, then you may find some organism, otherwise maybe sterile also. And chest X-ray may be normal, and but in some cases you may find increased bronchovascular markings. Then pulmonary function test. Whenever there is a problem in the respiratory system, you have to do lung function test or pulmonary function test to find out how functionally how lung is working. That is pulmonary function tests. And then treatment. Treatment is number one because it's due to irritants. So to avoid bronchial irritants, like stop smoking, like avoid company of smokers. Why company of smokers? Passive smoking occurs in company of smokers. And then like housewives should avoid gas smoke, and avoid aerosol sprays like deodorants, hairspray, etc. And so these are to avoid bronchial irritants. Then treatment of infection. If infection is there, then you can treat by ampicillin, and ampicillin can be given. And then inhaled bronchodilators. So because bronchodilators will be useful in the, and mucolytic agents, because mucous secretions are there, mucolytic agent may be there, and sometimes corticosteroids can be used. Then oxygen therapy, and vaccines can be taken, like a pneumococcal vaccine because if pneumonia, streptococcus pneumoniae can be also with a positive agent. So pneumococcal vaccines can be used. Then coming to bronchiectasis. What is bronchiectasis? It is defined as an abnormal and irreversible dilatation of bronchi, either in a focal or diffuse manner. This definition is based on pathological changes, because this is pathological changes. It's a dilated and abnormal and irreversible dilatation of bronchi. This is pathological change. But clinical diagnosis is applied when chronic and recurrent infection occurs. When chronic and recurrent infection occurs in the dilated airways. These are dilated airways leading to collection of secretion within them. When infection occurs, these are dilated airways. So collection of secretion is there in these dilated bronchi. So there are two types of causes may be there. Like one is bacterial causes or infective causes, and other is non-infective causes. And infective causes like bacterial, it may be Pseudomonas aeruginosa, maybe Haemophilus influenzae, maybe Staph aureus, Staphylococcus aureus, maybe Klebsiella species, Escherichia coli, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Then viral causes may be influenza virus may be there, adenovirus may be there. Then fungal causes like Aspergillus, Fumigatus may be there. And then non-infective causes. Non-infective causes like recurrent aspirations and congenital or acquired immunodeficiency states, allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, and cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a very important cause of bronchiectasis. Then coming to pathogenesis, the infective agents produce inflammation and destruction of bronchi by different mechanisms, like they produce enzymes, toxins, which will injure the respiratory epithelium and impair the mucociliary clearance. So once the defense is compromised by these organisms, so dilated airways become more susceptible to repeated infections. So repeated infections will be, because injury to the respiratory epithelium is there, so repeated infections will be there. So vicious cycle will set up, and infections lead to obstruction and impaired mucociliary clearance, which predisposes to further infection and damage the bronchi. So it's a vicious cycle. Then obstruction in the bronchi may also be due to some tumor. If focal bronchiectasis occurs when there is some foreign body or tumor which is obstructing in the bronchi, then it may be focal bronchiectasis. And clinical features may be almost similar. Chronic cough with massive expectoration, blood in sputum, hemoptysis, then pleuritic chest pain, breathlessness, and fever. Then complications of bronchiectasis may occur, like recurrent pneumonia may occur, empyema may occur, or pulmonale with right ventricular failure, secondary renal amyloidosis may occur, bacteremia and septicemia may occur, meningitis or brain abscess, massive hemoptysis may be. Then diagnosis is without complicated, because if complication is there, then the diagnosis may be different, because if meningitis is there, then you have to diagnose meningitis also. Like complications are there. If brain abscess is there, then diagnosis of that which should also be done. If pneumonia, empyema is there, you have to diagnose that. Without complicated bronchiectasis, diagnosis may be bronchoscopy or CT scan. Bronchoscopy can be done in other cases also, like bronchitis and other conditions also. And so polymorphonuclear leukocytosis is there. ESR may be raised, and sputum or ball fluid, microbiologically, either sputum or bronchoalveolar lavage by bronchoscopy. Collection of bronchoalveolar lavage fluid by bronchoscopy may be done for culture. So culture may be for bacterial culture. You can use these specimens, and viruses, it will be different. Fungal, it will be different. We have already discussed about the fungal culture in last class. And viral will be cell line cultures, or like influenza virus, cell lines may be used. Then urine examination for protein urea. this is important in some complications like amyloidosis. We have talked about that. It may lead to secondary renal amyloidosis. In amyloidosis, proteinuria, albuminuria may occur. Then X-ray chest, and then specific tests for aspergillus. Specific tests for aspergillus can be done if you are thinking of aspergillosis, like serological tests can be done, antibody detection can be done, and pulmonary function test, PFT, can be done. Then treatment is infection if occurs, some bacterial isolation is there, then antibiotics may be given, then bronchodilators, mucolytic agents, same treatment and clinical features almost the same, even diagnostic features also. Postural drainage may be done, then chest physiotherapy, chest physiotherapy and treatment of complications may be done. Then coming to lung abscess. Lung abscess, what is lung abscess? You should be very clear that it is defined as collection of purulent material in a localized necrotic area of lung parenchyma. So when we will be talking about pleural effusion, fluid will be in the pleura, pleural effusion, right? So in empyema also, first will be in the pleura, right? So that is a difference. And the causes of lung abscess may be pyogenic in origin, like Staphylococcus aureus, Klebsiella species, nocardia, then endemic bacteria may be there. Then Mycobacterium tuberculosis. In endemic bacteria, it may be Bacteroides, Fusobacterium, and fungi may be the causes like Aspergillus, Histoplasma. Amoebic lung abscess. When amoebic lung abscess occurs, this is due to secondary to liver abscess. If amoebic liver abscess is there and then it ruptures and enters into the lung, that is named as amoebic lung abscess. Then pathogenesis. In pathogenesis, infection may be without obstruction, and so without obstruction, it basically most of the time lung abscess is due to aspiration of nasopharyngeal contents. Most of the time it's due to aspiration of nasopharyngeal contents. The formation of lung abscess is common, so therefore it is very common in common abscess formation in unconscious patients or patients with impaired swallowing or immunity. So Mycobacterium tuberculosis, fungal infections, and amoebic lung abscess are usually non-pyogenic and may be single or multiple. This abscess may be single or multiple. And another way is of the lung abscess is periodontal disease in dental practices. Poor dental hygiene are commonly associated with endemic lung abscess because endemic flora is there in the mouth, and due to aspiration of oropharyngeal secretion. So that is how it occurs, lung abscess. And before going to another way is obstruction with or without infection. So obstruction of bronchus, whether from inside or outside, maybe due to a tumor or foreign body, lymph node, or bronchial stenosis, may be followed by abscess formation. So these are cavitary lesions presenting abscesses, but are non-infective. They are non-infective. And later on, they may become secondarily infected. So non-infective may be due to tumor or foreign body. So it may be non-infective causes may also be. Then clinical features are like fever, maybe with purulent or mucopurulent sputum may be there. Then the blood in the sputum, chest pain, And rare manifestation may be that this complication of pyogenic lung infection abscess may be that it may lead to empyema. So empyema may occur. So treatment is diagnosis will be almost same before treatment. Diagnosis that it may be leukocytosis on TLC, DLC. ESR may be raised, especially in tuberculosis. And in tuberculosis, you will find mononuclear leukocytosis because polymorphs are not involved. So basically, lymphocytes and other. And sputum culture can be done. Sputum culture, because it's a lung abscess. In sputum culture, you may go for a gram staining for the pyogenic infections, G-Nielsen staining for the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and of course by direct microscopy, and then culture can also be done. Culture on McConkey agar, blood agar, chocolate agar can be done for pyogenic, and culture on Lowenstein-Jensen medium for Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And of course, in sputum with spatial stain, you can also look for malignant cells, because if malignancy is the cause, then you can go for that. And sometimes you may also go for blood culture. Blood culture, most of the cases, blood culture is trial, and serological test for antibody detection for viral and fungal infections. You can go for antibody test, and urine examination can be done for proteinuria, pus cells, and cysts. So because amyloidosis, albuminuria is there, that may be a complicated chronic lung abscess. Then, of course, X-ray, chest, CT scan, bronchoscopy, all can be done. And by bronchoscopy, you can also count the lavage and these tests. Then treatment is antibiotics if infection is there. Then because this is a abscess is there, so postural drainage is important. Then bronchodilators, mucolytic agents, chest physiotherapy is important. And then surgery or drainage. Generally, surgery may not be required. Sometimes only drainage will be effective, and if the surgery is required, then resection of a part of lung or lungs, whole lung can be done. So that's about lung abscess. Now coming to empyema. What is empyema? Empyema is defined as a collection of pus into pleural cavity. If a collection of pus is there in the pleural cavity, it is named as a empyema, and which leads to compression of the lungs. And two types of causes are there: non-traumatic causes and traumatic causes. So traumatic and non-traumatic causes are there. And traumatic causes are non-traumatic causes are like lung diseases. It may occur after pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, after tuberculosis, and even after lung abscess, because I said that lung abscess has a complication of empyema may occur, and bronchiectasis may be the cause. And then osteomyelitis of ribs or vertebrae also may lead to empyema. And rupture of subphrenic or liver abscess may also lead to empyema. And traumatic causes are like a trauma to the chest or recent surgery. The trauma to the chest means like a penetrating some chest injury is there. Recent surgery may be there, thoracic surgery, and following pleural aspiration or intercostal tube drainage. So all these may sometimes lead to empyema. So this is all about causes of non-traumatic and traumatic causes. Then clinical features are similar, almost fever with chills, pleuritic chest pain, because pleura is involved. So this is important, pleuritic chest pain. then breathlessness, and purulent sputum may be there, then infection is there, then antibiotics. If tuberculosis is the cause, then anti-tubercular treatment may be given, and drainage of empyema can be done. Then coming to pleural effusion. Pleural effusion, again, as the name suggests, that it's a pleura is involved. So pleura is involved, and what is pleural effusion? If more than normal collection of fluid in the pleural cavity is called pleural effusion, because more than normal, because normally also some fluid is there. So pleural effusion develops when its formation exceeds its absorption from pleural space. So in the pleural space, so that is the what happens, that that formation is more than the absorption. And tuberculosis is the most important cause of unilateral pleural effusion. There are two types of pleural effusion: transmutative and exudative pleural effusion. Transmutative pleural effusion means that non-involvement of pleura, and pleural effusion of exudative type means pleural involvement. Pleural involvement means that some infection is there, infiltration is there. So that is the involvement, pleural involvement. So exudative and transmutative. So causes of exudative, because causes of exudative may be some infections may be there. So exudative causes are maybe tuberculosis, and then sarcoidosis, then infections, viral or fungal infections may be there, then pneumonia may be there, malignant metastasis involving the pleura, and then pulmonary embolism, and lymphoma, subphrenic abscess, amoebic liver abscess, rupture, congenital heart failure, cirrhosis. These are all causes of this. Then transmutative pleural effusion causes are congestive heart failure, cirrhosis of liver, and nephrotic syndrome, hypoproteinemia due to malnutrition. So congestive heart failure and cirrhosis are causes of transmutative pleural effusion, not the exudative. Because exudative, you will find some infection should be some infective finding like pneumonia, tuberculosis, viral, fungal, some may be there. Then clinical features, similar way: fever, pleuritic pain, cough, breathlessness. And diagnosis is, again, if tuberculosis is there, ESR will be raised, and TLC, TLC will find lymphocytes maybe more, and then X-ray chest is diagnostic because it will tell you that some fluid is there inside. And then ultrasonography may be useful in localization of effusion. And then pleural aspiration may be done, and pleural biopsy may be useful for diagnosis. Sputum culture, sputum is there, then sputum culture, or maybe for pyogenic culture, maybe for mycobacterium tuberculosis on by GeoNewson staining can be done, and then gram staining for pyogenic. Then you can diagnose culture on the blood agar, McConkey agar, and chocolate agar for biogenic, and for Lowenstein-Johnson medium for tuberculosis. And also you can use some recent culture methods of victim-gated tube. Then bronchoscopy can also be done. This is all bronchoscopy can be done in any respiratory system disease problem. So treatment is aspiration of pleural effusion. That is very important, and it is named as thoracentesis. Thoracentesis is the aspiration of pleural effusion, and the technique is thoracentesis. And this is very important because aspiration of pleural effusion to relieve the patient from breathlessness, dyspnea. So that is very important. And anti-tubercular treatment, because pleural effusion is very common cause is tuberculosis in India. So anti-tubercular treatment can be given in tuberculosis. It causes tuberculosis. And treatment of underlying cause. If some other underlying cause is there, like heart failure, you treat the heart failure. If pneumonia is the cause, treat pneumonia. If pulmonary embolism is there, then treat pulmonary embolism. So all these will be the treatment of pleural effusion. Then coming to parasitic lung infection. Parasitic lung infections. In parasitic lung infection causes maybe Entamoeba histolytica. Why Entamoeba histolytica? Because Entamoeba histolytica may cause the hepatic abscess or liver abscess. And maybe liver abscess may be there, that may rupture and may cause the lung abscess. That is basically Entamoeba histolytica is not basically a causative agent of lung infection, but it may lead to, but basically it is for dysentery, amoebic dysentery, and also for hepatic amoebiasis or liver abscess. But it may lead to, it may also lead to one like lung, it may go to anywhere, maybe brain and other parts, skin, and so many places it may go. So one of them is lung infection. Then Echinococcus granulosus is a similar way, is a causative agent of hydrated cyst. Mainly it's the liver is involved, but it may also enter in many parts of the body. This can also lead to brain, and so lung, it can also cause hydrated cyst may form in the lung, also cyst may form in the lung. Then Paragonimus westermani is the main lung infection parasite. It is also named as a lung fluke. I will be dealing in detail about Paragonimus westermani. This Entamoeba histolytica, Echinococcus granulosus has already been taught to you. And then Ascaris lumbricoides, again, primarily it's a causative agent of some intestinal, because this is an intestinal nematode. So primarily it is infecting intestines, but its life cycle is such that it passes through the lungs. From intestine, it reaches into the circulation, and from circulation, it's through heart, it enters into the lungs for development, because molding occurs of the larvae there. So it may lead to some lung infection may occur due to parasitic, named as Loeffler syndrome. Loeffler syndrome is one terminology, must have been taught to you in Ascaris lumbricoides. So Loeffler syndrome occurs during that life cycle, and so it may produce a lung infection like features, clinical features, like it may cause, in all these, it may occur that the patient may be suffering from cough, complaints of cough with sputum, or maybe irritating cough. So all these may be there, even breathlessness may be there. So in Ankylostomata duodenale also, and Gator americanus, both are hookworms, both are, again, they are intestinal nematodes, and their life cycle is also such that it enters in the lungs and may lead to pulmonary clinical symptoms like Strongyloides tropialis, and these hookworms both have almost similar life cycle. The Strongyloides tropialis larvae also enters inside the lung and during life cycle, and then it may lead to some lung symptoms may be there in Strongyloides tropialis also. And Then coming to Paragonymous westermani. Paragonymous westermani, as I said, lung fluke, or also known as a oriental lung fluke. And parasite is endemic in Japan, Korea, China, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, and India. And in India, it has been reported from Assam, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. This is morphology of Paragonymous westermani. So adult worm, how adult worm looks like. So adult worm is a oval shaped. It's an oval shaped, reddish brown. It's a oval shaped reddish brown and covered with a scale-like spines. So these are the scale-like spines, right? These are the spines. These are spines, right? It's a oval-shaped, reddish brown, and covered with scale-like. It measures about 10 millimeter in length, 5 millimeter in breadth, and 4 millimeter in thickness. And lifespan of adult worm is 6 to 7 years. And other features are like suckers are there. One is oral, this is the oral sucker, this is the ventral sucker, and then intestinal cloaca is there. Then ovary, testes are there, and excretory bladder is there. So all these features are adult Paragonymous westermani. This is the egg of Paragonymous westermani. This is a typical egg which can be identified by its morphology. The eggs are oval, number one oval, operculated, this is operculated, right? And yellow brown and measures around 90 micrometer to 50 micrometer. And they are unembryonated when laid, right? So this is the operculum. So operculated means this is operculum, operculated. This is a typical egg of Paragonymous westermani, that is operculated egg. Then life cycle. This is also typical. It is passed, the life cycle is passed in 3 hosts. One definitive host and 2 intermediate hosts. Generally, there are either one definitive host or one definitive and one intermediate host. But here it's a 2 intermediate hosts. Sometimes in the examination viva, examiners sometimes ask, name some parasite in which 3 hosts are there or 2 intermediate hosts are there. So this is one example. Then definitive host, man, of course, definitive host. Other definitive hosts may be cat, dog, fox, tiger, leopard, and monkey. And this is again important. First intermediate host is a freshwater snail. And second intermediate host is a freshwater crayfish or a crab, that is crustacea. So adult worms live usually in pairs in the cystic cavities in the lungs. So that's why it's a lung fluke. And the eggs escape into the bronchi and are puffed up in sputum or swallowed and passed in feces. So this is again important because these eggs are cupped out in sputum. So this will be useful in diagnosis of Paragonymous westermani. You will be having a sputum specimen and you are doing a examination of sputum and you are looking for eggs. And if you have a feces, then you can also look these typical operculated eggs in the feces also. Then fresh water from lakes, small ponds, etc., get contaminated with eggs in the sputum or feces. So that is how these water bodies are infected with these parasites. So this is the life cycle, depicting the life cycle of this parasite. So this is the man, right? And so adult, so this shows that adult worm in cystic cavities in the lung. This is a man, right? Infected. So is having a adult worm in cystic cavities in the lung. Then, because adult worms are there, they are producing upper-plated eggs in sputum or feces. In sputum, they are producing eggs, and then it's going into it's swallowed, and then it comes in the feces. So these eggs are liberated in the environment, either in the sputum, through sputum, or through the feces. So water is there, fresh water. In fresh water, it develops. These eggs develop into so from eggs, release of miracidium occurs. Miracidium occurs, and so this miracidium becomes free swarming miracidium, and then this snail is infected with this free swarming miracidium. And in the snail, these are in the snail in the various development, like sporocyst. It changes into sporocyst, then to the first generation Redia, and then second generation Redia, and then into Cercaria. So these are the various stages in the snail. And this Cercaria, this crab and this crayfish, this Cercaria will infect these, right? Gills of these, and so these are infected in Cercaria. And this crab or crayfish can also be infected by eating this snail also. They can eat the snail also, right? And then this, when Cercaria enters in this crab or crayfish, it changes into, this Cercaria insists and become beta Cercaria. So insisted form is meta Cercaria. This is meta. And so man gets infection by injection of this crab, because this meta Cercaria is inside the crab or crayfish. So injection of crab or crayfish containing this man will eat this, and they will be infected. And meta Cercaria insisted meta Cercaria exists in the duodenum and release larva. Larva is released because exists occur, and these larvae penetrate the gut wall and enter into the abdominal cavity. This enter into the abdomen. Then these larvae migrate upwards through the diaphragm into the pleural cavity and lungs, where they develop into adult forms. So in the cystic cavity, these are the adult forms. Is there? This is again this text type of life cycle. I will start from here. Adult worms live in the cystic cavities in lungs. Then eggs are passed in sputum or feces. Then fresh water gets contaminated with eggs from sputum or feces. Then release of miracidium from egg, free swarming miracidium. Then miracidium infects the snail, that is the first intermediate host. So sporocyst formation occurs. From there, first generation Redia, second generation Redia, Cercaria, and the mature Cercaria escapes from the snail into water. And Cercaria penetrates the gills and muscles of crab or crayfish, the second intermediate host. And so definitive Cercaria insists to become beta Cercaria, and definitive hosts are infected by ingestion of raw or inadequately cooked crab or crayfish containing meta Cercaria. So meta Cercaria exists in the duodenum. Larvae is released, penetrates abdominal cavity, and through diaphragm it reaches in the lungs and bronchi through and develop into adult worms. Adult worms live in the cystic cavities in lungs. So that is the life cycle of Paragonymous westermani or lung flu. So what is the pathogenesis of Paragonymous vespermanni, right? The worms lie in the lung parenchyma and are surrounded by a fibrous capsule formed by the host tissues. So inflammatory reaction to the worms and their eggs lead to granule formation occurs, and cystic dilatation of bronchi, abscesses and pneumonitis may occur, and patient present with cough, chest pain, and blood in the sputum, hemoptysis, and the sputum may contain yellowish brown eggs in of the parasite, yellowish brown eggs. And chronic cases may be misdiagnosed as TB due to similar clinical manifestation like in TB also tuberculosis, there is a sputum with blood. So this looks like that sputum with blood is there. So sometimes the migrating larvae lose their way and lose their way and maybe host in the some other parts such as liver, peritoneum, mesenteric lymph nodes, brain, heart, and subcutaneous tissue of the groin. And the clinical features will vary with the site involved, because if brain is involved, then conversion may be there. And then if heart is involved, some symptoms related to heart, subcutaneous or maybe not there. So it depends which has lost the way. The laboratory diagnosis, as I said, you can get the in sputum or feces. In serum, ELISA can be done for body detection in serum. Then besides eggs and some X-ray. PET approach with a crank then and CT scan treatment purpose in the treatment is caused by Paragonymous vespermanni Paragonymous. Prophylaxis we prevented that these died eating food or crayfish. Some infected persons, because if you treat, then they will not be shedding that eggs in the feces or sputum. So in the environment, so it will be cycle has to be broken. Then destruction of molluscan hosts by the use of molluscicides. So this is again one preventive measure. Then coming to, in general, the laboratory diagnosis of lung infections. Because if lung infection is a varied type of thing. So many you have seen that bronchitis, bronchiectasis, lung abscess, pleural effusion, and so many other things, pneumonia, tuberculosis. So how to diagnose in general the laboratory of lung infection? First thing is specimens. Depending upon, you may have sputum, maybe having induced sputum, like in pneumocystis jirovecii, which is a pneumonia, cause of pneumonia in HIV patients. Induced sputum is the preferred specimen, so induced sputum should be taken. Sputum bronchoalveolar love donkey agar and chocolate agar. This Mycobacterium tuberculosis culture can be done on once change answer medium mycobacterium growth indicator tube culture MGI then identification once you have grown the organism on the culture medium, then you have to identify besides this culture two cultures like mycobacterium tuberculosis and pyogenic. Another is if you are finding out fungus, then you use several dextrose agar for culture. If you are thinking of fiber these viruses, then you must go for the causes of like culture cell lines is used in embedded in parent causes direct examination or maybe lung abscess. Then the aspirate, you take the aspirate lung and look for the trophic and there will also be of history. So all these, if you have around the stomach and some eggs maybe there or in strongyloides in the sputum, you may find the RB may be there in examination, direct examination. These are all direct examination. Empty found. Most of the parasitic direct examination only and serology. So direction will be diagnosed by direct examination will be this. Then once you've grown on this culture medium, then you have to identify. Identification will be by for different bacteria, it will be different. Whether it's a member of Enterobacteriaceae, maybe non-fermenter. So depending on Mycobacterium tuberculosis, or even if viruses, different coronavirus are used in the fluorescent for now this virus growth. Then serology antibody can be done. Antibody maybe if you are finding the pneumonia cause is a Mycoplasma pneumoniae or Palmyra pneumophili, Palmyrophila, then you may have to find the antibodies in the patient's serum. So I have not mentioned the specimen blood. So because I have mentioned related to the respiratory system, but blood is another sample you have to take also. And antibody can be detected the pneumonia. You can then multis can be done with special like COVID kind of PCR can be done. So us can be used for the and this can also be used for bacterial because I'm not mentioning bacterial because most of this bacteria can be diagnosed. It comes in the like viral causes and even in pneumocytosis, they are checked on PCR. So then even regional pneumonia because it can also lead to hypoxia also for infection and infection in the disease of by already told COVID. Another thing also you can detect the antigen and even in the urine specimen in Legionella pneumophila can detect it. Even streptococcus pneumoniae can be detected. In HIV came from the kind of because most disease morphology fungus can see the discussed like histoplasma, dimartic fungus and you can direct against is not antigen. So in direct training training methods so they have this floors, microbiology, mucilacide, and culture on blood agar medium for microbiology in the cases of GIT, UPDAN, the fungal text or brain inoculation in the or can be done monkey culture in the serology body reaction can be done also in this 19 in then multiplex is in many various organisms so causes of detected and even gene expert is also available for tuberculosis, right? So that's it. Thank you very much.